further changing my voice. This video is about Job 1. In Job 1, Satan comes to God after roaming the earth and wants God to harshly test Job as he shuns evil. Job 1:1. In the land of Uz there lived a man whose name was Job. This man was blameless and upright. He feared God and shunned evil. He had 7 sons and 3 daughters, and he owned 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen, and 500 donkeys, and had a large number of servants. He was the greatest man among all the people of the East. His sons used to hold feasts in their homes on their birthdays, and they would invite their 3 sisters to eat and drink with them. When a period of feasting had run its course, Job would make arrangements for them to be purified. Early in the morning he would sacrifice a burnt offering for each of them, thinking, perhaps my children have sinned and cursed God in their hearts. This was Job's regular custom. One day the angels, or the sons of God, came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came with them. The Lord said to Satan, "Where have you come from?" Satan answered the Lord, "From roaming throughout the earth, going back and forth on it." Then the Lord said to Satan, "Have you considered my servant Job? There is no one on earth like him. He is blameless and upright, a man who fears God and shuns evil." "Does Job fear God for nothing?" Satan replied. "Have you not put a hedge around him and his household and everything he has? You have blessed the work of his hands so that his flocks and herds are spread throughout the land. But now stretch out your hand and strike everything he has, and he will surely curse you to your face." Okay, so notice that the angels in verse 6 are also called the sons of God. Because God's it's a warrior order, right? Exodus 15:3, the Lord is a warrior, the Lord is his name. Angels are depicted with spears and swords and waging war, like in Sodom and Gomorrah, in Revelation, okay, in Isaiah, and they're striking people dead. Okay, so it is a martial arts order. The essence of martial arts spirits, right? Spirit, S-P-E-R-I-T, and spirit are connected, and this definitively proves it. Also in verse 11 it says, "Now stretch out your hand and strike everything he has, and he will surely curse you to your face." Okay, again, I don't do theater, arts, or propaganda. I know for sure that this is the case. Martial arts exist for a reason. The martial art order, etc. Okay? Also notice that Satan wants him to be tested. Okay? There's many ways to interpret it. I think one way to interpret it that comes to mind first for most people is that God wants to prove to Satan that Job outdid Satan, is one way to look at it, or Job is upright and that he's something to behold, is a martial arts force. And Satan is saying, "I'm not so impressed." That's also why it's wrong to pretend that you're not impressed by me and to not obey God through me. Okay. The Lord said to Satan, "Very well, then everything he has is in your power, but on the man himself do not lay a finger." Then Satan went out from the presence of the Lord. So verse 11 it says, "But now stretch out your hand and strike everything he has, and he will surely curse you to your face." The Lord said to Satan, "Very well, then everything he has is in your power, but on the man himself do not lay a finger." Then Satan went out from the presence of the Lord. Okay? It's interesting is what is being done to me, is worse than what's happened to Job here. Because they're messing with my brain and preventing me from the truest love ever. As the top martial arts ever is Christ. And it's really not in their best interest in their offspring and their ancestors and their peoples and their nations. Verse 13, one day when Job's sons and daughters were feasting and drinking wine at the older brother's house, a messenger came to Job and said, "The oxen were plowing and the donkeys were grazing nearby, and the Sabeans attacked and made off with them. They put the servants to the sword, and I am the only one who escaped to tell you." While he was still speaking, another messenger came and said, "The fire of God fell from the heavens and burned up the sheep and the servants, and I am the only one who has escaped to tell you." Okay, remember, in Revelation it says that the Antichrist, the false prophet, causes fire to come down from the sky. Okay? Satan was able to do this, right? And that's an interesting fact to note. And obviously you know by my works that I'm a man of God, that I'm Christ, and that I'm not the devil. Okay, important to note these things. Okay. All right. While he was still speaking, another messenger came. He had said, the Chaldeans formed 3 raiding parties and swept on your camels and made off with them. They put the servants to the sword, and I am the only one who has escaped to tell you. While he was still speaking, another messenger came and said, your sons and daughters were feasting and drinking wine at the oldest brother's house, when suddenly a mighty wind swept in from the desert and struck the 4 corners of the house. It collapsed on them, and they are dead. And I'm the only one who has escaped to tell you. At this, Job got up and tore his robe and shaved his head. Then he fell to the ground in worship and said, naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will depart. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised. In all this, Job did not sin by charging God with wrongdoing. So Job, in this entire book, and it gets confusing because sometimes they use the words that God has wronged him, right? He says that, right? But he's not charging him with wrongdoing even at that point. Okay, he's complaining. Okay, notice he rips his clothes and he says, naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will depart. Okay, that's how he's talking. Just because I'm not going to say it that way, probably because it messes with my brain because I'm being fumed, doesn't mean that's not how he said it. That's how he's saying it. He's panicking, right? Pan, meaning all, for all the demonic Greco-Roman deities, is where we get the word panic and pandemic and pandemonium, okay, and panties, right? Panty raid and so on and so forth. Okay, Job 2. Satan says skin for skin and wants God to strike Job's flesh and bones as he maintained his integrity, not charging God with wrongdoing. So Satan's going to step it up on him. On another day, the angels came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came with them to present himself before him. And the Lord said to Satan, where have you come from? Satan answered the Lord, from roaming throughout the earth, going back and forth on it. Again, remember, Set is a deity of foreigners. Foreign ears. Foreigners. Okay, they're foreign to the martial art order. Set fell out of grace, right? He's supposed to be a son of Ra, son of God. And Ra in Hebrew means evil, but they call good evil and evil good. So the person's, the Bible's confusing because the people who wrote and compiled the Bible and allow for it are the evil people. Satan is the god of this world, and those are the people who allowed for it. But there's truth in there. Okay, that's why it's written in this way. That's why they don't use a word that refers to black people directly, and they superimpose themselves on the story. Satan is people other than a particular group of black people. They may have been black when they roamed out. I think that the evidence does suggest that, and I have been saying it because that the overwhelming evidence does suggest that some group of black people that over time turn white. Okay, for the most part. Okay, Semitic. They rebelled against the martial art order, right? So Satan, Setan, as the occultists would say, right? Setan Anu, right? One way to look at seat, right? Setan seat, right? Who sits, unchallenged, damn near in the world throne, right? In terms of, there's a bunch of evil people in charge, okay? So that's important that you understand that. So he's roaming the earth, right? Like Cain, also like Set. Okay, because it's the same area where these stories come from. Evil people were roaming around, pirates, right? Like the Mongols, like the Romans, right? Rome, to roam around, right? Rome also scrambled as more, and the wolf is the symbol of the Roman people, right? Greco-Roman people, and we see that it says that the sons of Greece and the sons of Rome by default, because of Greco-Roman culture, are pitted against the sons of God, who are called the sons of Zion. And it gets confusing because they also use the sons of God, okay, because the city of David is the city of Zion, right? The fortress of Zion, the city of God. But the sons of God are also angels, and some of them go astray and become fallen angels and devils. Okay. So he says, from roaming throughout the earth, going back and forth on it. Then the Lord said to Satan, have you considered my servant Job? There is no one on earth like him. He is blameless and upright, a man who fears God and shuns evil. And he still maintains his integrity, though you incited me against him to ruin him without any reason. Skin for skin, Satan replied. A man will give all he has for his own life, but now stretch out your hand and strike his flesh and bones, and he will surely curse you to your face. The Lord said to Satan, very well, that he is in your hands, but you must spare his life. So Satan went out from the presence of the Lord and afflicted Job with painful sores from the soles of his feet to the crowns of his head. Again, just like Babylon and in the Bible, the sores, the angels and the trumpets and the bowls, and they're causing sores, and people are cursing God, okay? They're not supposed to curse God no matter what happens. They're supposed to obey God through me no matter what happens. And Job 2 and Revelation prove that definitively, from those who are Christians, Muslims, and Jews. Okay, but it's a universal truth what they're talking about. Okay, logically, you're not supposed to go against God. You're not supposed to rebel against me. You shouldn't have to have the Bible to tell you that. Excuse me. You shouldn't need the Bible to tell you that. 8. Then Job took a piece of broken pottery and scraped himself with it as he sat among the ashes. His wife said to him, "Are you still maintaining your integrity? Curse God and die." He replied, "You are talking like a foolish woman. Should we accept good from God and not trouble?" In all this, Job did not sin in what he said. Okay, notice it is the female, just like in the Garden of Eden. Now again, this is just the truth. We're not all equal. Okay, not all races are equal. They don't have the same spectrum. Not men and females, not straight and gay. Okay, we are what we are. Like Bob Marley said, we are who we are. We are who we are. We are what we are. God's revealed himself to Moses. I am who I am. I am that I am. I am what I will be. Okay, the female is inclined, because she's the more social sex, because of the brain function, because of her unnatural direction when she's LGBT people, feminist, so on and so forth. She's more inclined to take the offer. However, everyone else, okay, this actually works against the other guys, because they're supposed to put their foot down and say, no, don't do that. Instead, they sold out for sex. They sold out for the theater arts game, okay? But notice it is her nature, right? That's why this is in the story. Just like when when Eve took the apple, the forbidden fruit, right? The forbidden actions, the forbidden, the fruit is like, if you're a wicked person, you're consuming wickedness, right? She's consuming craftiness from the snake, of psychology, right? Poison, which causes you to see strange sights, right? Intoxication, not thinking straight, okay? And sexual immorality and so on and so forth. All right. Then Job took a piece of broken pottery and scraped himself with it and sat amongst the ashes. His wife said to him, "Are you still maintaining your integrity? Curse God and die." He replied, "You are talking like a foolish woman. Shall we accept good from God and not trouble?" In all this, Job did not sin in what he said. When Job's 3 friends, Eliphaz the Temanite, Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Naamathite, heard about all the troubles that had come upon him, they set out from their homes and met together by agreement to go and sympathize with him and comfort him. When they saw him from a distance, they could hardly recognize him. They began to weep. They began to weep. They began to weep out aloud, and they tore their robes and sprinkled dust on their heads. And they sat on the ground with him for 7 days and 7 nights. No one said a word to him, because they saw how great his suffering was. So they were weeping and they don't say a word. Okay? And in Job 3 and on, they're going to start having important exchanges where they accuse him of things he didn't do, because they're trying to make sense of what's going on. And he's saying, why is God doing this to me when I did nothing wrong? And I think that, the logical assumption here is that Job is complaining about his spiritual he doesn't feel like God is with him. That's what he's really complaining about. Okay? The other stuff is the other stuff. So he says, why did this stuff happen back to back to back? And it's not that, his enemies got it together and plotted against him. He feels like God is at the source of this and he's not with him. And he's right to feel that he's been treated unfairly. And that's part of the confusion. But he's wrong to question God's wisdom in the matter. And that's how the Job is going to end. We'll get into that. It's a very interesting exchange. There's 42 chapters. We've done Job 1 and 2 today in this video, and we're going to get to the rest of them. Thank you.